What's going on, Dub Nation? I am your host of Warriors Today, Allie Barefoot, and we're breaking down two major topics here on today's show. Of course, Kendra Andrews of ESPN and Steve Kerr did release an update on Gary Payton II. I know some of you may have forgotten about him. He hasn't played in over 3 weeks, but he might come back soon. And we're going to talk about a little bit of a tiff going on with the Warriors lineup struggles. Steve Kerr is struggling to find out who to play each night, but we're going to break that down a little bit later in the show. First, let's start with the Gary Payton II injury update. He was reevaluated yesterday, and they said Gary Payton II practiced today. Steve Kerr says the team didn't scrimmage, but they did do half-court live action. Payton participated in that, but Kerr doesn't know his status for tomorrow. Of course, that is tonight against the Miami Heat. They still haven't announced anything about Gary Payton II playing tonight, but still, you haven't been with Draymond for the past 4 or 5 games now, I think. So you need Gary Payton II to come in sooner rather than later to really help with that defense, because you got to remember, he's been hurt for a while. November 16th is when he got his first injury of the season. He injured his left foot, but the MRI only showed that it was a strained muscle, so he was able to come back, play the next week, but then he tore his right calf. I've never torn anything in my life, but that sounds extremely painful. Well, he was reevaluated yesterday, but his return date is still to be decided. Look, Gary Payton II, he's not a starter, I understand that, but he's a solid rotation piece, and you really need him on defense. But I'm getting a little bit suspicious for when he does return, because a lot of Warriors have flourished in his absence, the same as Draymond Green's. So when GP2 does return, where does he fit in this rotation? Well, nonetheless, I know you guys are big fans of Gary Payton II, as am I. I need you guys to go on ahead and show him some love down in the comments. Go on ahead and type 0. Let him know that Dub Nation is still behind him. We're hoping for a quick recovery, and we hope we can see him play again real soon. Well, speaking of playing again real soon, I talked about this in a couple videos ago. Jonathan Kuminga finally spoke out on his minutes with the Warriors, saying, look, the OG's got to get the ball. I get it. Steve Kerr plays the veterans, but it's messing with my confidence. I don't know when I'm going to get pulled. I don't know what to do on the court that would make me be able to stay on it. And he's frustrated. He's a baller. He wants to keep playing. Well, the new update is that Steve Kerr responded to his comments. He said, look, I don't mind it at all. Every guy wants to play. This isn't anything new. And JK is a really talented guy. But every game, I have to read the game. And Wiggins was our best player. We decided to go with Wiggs down the stretch, and those are easy decisions for me. The game before, I think JK finished because he was playing great. And you have to admit, JK only had 13 points against the Nuggets. Well, Andrew Wiggins had 22. But here's the thing that's kind of confusing, and I understand Jonathan Kuminga's point, is that when he's on, he's going to stay in. When he's off, he's going to get all of his minutes retracted, and it's going to mess with your confidence. But Steve Kerr admitted he's having difficulty deciding who to play every single night because the Warriors have a top 4 bench in offensive and net rating. He said, normally I've got about 9 solid guys that I go to in the rotation, but now he's going upwards of 13 per game. I mean, some players' numbers are going to get cut essentially for the rest of the season if he keeps doing this. But first, I'm going to break down what this means for the Warriors lineup moving forward a little bit later in this video. I got to tell you guys about the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America right now, and of course, that's PrizePicks. I'm playing it. I play it every single game day. It adds a little bit more thrill to my life on game days, and it's super easy to play. All you have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. They've actually got a really good deal going on right now that's going to help you win some money. They've got green goblins and these red demons. Of course, the green goblins are easier picks, and I tend to lean more on the easier side. If you see the red version of this guy, well, that's a harder pick, but the payout is a lot more. But for tonight's game, I went with Joe Flacco having more than 199.5 passing yards. And then I have Jason Tatum going up against the 2-27 Detroit Pistons. I had him having more than 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. These are my picks. I want to see yours. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100, and you're going to watch yourself win some real money in real time. Here's a big question that Steve Kerr finally answered. When you want to play Jonathan Kuminga, you have to sit Andrew Wiggins. When you want to play Andrew Wiggins, you have to sit Jonathan Kuminga. Why can't you play these two fantastic players together? Well, in short story, they suck together. Believe it or not, you wouldn't think that they would, but when we break it down, they've played 106 minutes together. Their net rating, while the two of them are on the court, is minus 21.4. That is horrible. What's even worse, their defensive net rating. They're giving up 122 points per 106 minutes, which is horrible. And then their rebounding is 43.7%. The Dubs as a whole are over a 50% rebounding team, and their effective field goal percentage, 52%. That's not terrible, but obviously their defense has been lacking. So they're going to have to learn how to coexist on the floor. The only issue is Steve Kerr isn't playing them at the same time. And I don't blame him. If they're not helping the Dubs win, then you're going to put somebody else in because he's got way too much talent on the bench to help the Dubs win. However, he's not opposed to trying it out. He did say, look, it's something we're going to have to try, maybe get some new people in around them. Their numbers are not good together, frankly. They're very redundant, so the tape and the numbers haven't been great, but we have to find the right combination of people to go around those two guys. Well, Steve Kerr has been struggling just to find a starting five, let alone two more players to go around Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga, but nonetheless, do you guys want to see JK and Wiggins play more together? Despite the numbers, do you want to give it a try? Do you think the Warriors should actually maybe sacrifice a game or two to see if these two could be a powerhouse duo? Well, type yes, Y for yes, type N for no. Well, speaking of the starting five, of course, Steve Kerr has played over 10 different starting lineups so far this season, but did you know the most recent starting five, of course, that does have the rookie in there, Pajemski, it's got Jonathan Kuminga, doesn't have Wiggins or Draymond. They have been amazing. They are actually 14.5 points better per 100 possessions than the old starting five. I don't care when Draymond comes back. I don't care when GP2 comes back. This is the starting five the Dubs need to roll with until something catastrophic happens. But here's the thing. If you want to start playing Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga together, who sits? He's got too much to work with right now, and that's why he's the head coach. He has to figure out who to put in, when to put them in, and what's working. You've got an automatic starter in Steph Curry. He kept Klay Thompson in, and he proved to be right. Chris Paul is obviously not even a starter. You got Kevon Looney in there. So it's going to be tricky to find out who's going to sit when the big man comes back. I've said this before. I'm not really on the board of letting Draymond Green come back in and start right off the bat just because he's Draymond Green. I don't think this is championship Draymond Green this season that we've seen in the past, and I think it's only fair that he has to earn his right when he comes back in. But it'll be interesting to see where he even fits in the rotation if he does do that. Of course, he's been leaning on Dario as the center and Chris Paul to lead that second group. So does Draymond fit in with them? Well, here's the thing. The NBA trade deadline is on February 8th. If they have too much talent right now, should they sparingly give some up to get maybe one bigger player out there? Because here's my thing. If Steve Kerr is not going to play these two players together, if he's only going to play them sparingly each night, if JK is going crazy, then you don't see Wiggins the entire fourth quarter. Why don't you use the NBA trade deadline and potentially give one of those players away to get somebody possibly even better right now? Who that player is, well, that's Mike Dunleavy and Steve Kerr's job, but I don't see the point of having these two great players, Wiggins being an all-star, Jonathan Kuminga making a name for himself as a young player, and you're only going to play one of them each night because you just don't have enough time. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but nonetheless, I'm not Steve Kerr. So what do you guys say? If you had to pick a wing to play nightly, as Steve Kerr says, it just goes on how well they're playing, go on ahead and type it down below. Type AW for Andrew Wiggins, type JK for Jonathan Kuminga. I'm going JK right now. Wiggins shows flashes of his all-star self. Give me more consistency. That may change. And go ahead and hit that sub button for me down below if you guys have a minute. If you want to know anything about the Golden State Warriors, you're going to find it right here at Warriors Today by Chat Sports. So hit that sub button for me.